Hello everybody, this is Brandon again, and what we're doing here today is an updated and revised edition of my how to get Linux set up on a Chromebook or a ChromeOS Flex device, because the last version I made was about 2 years ago. The process is slightly different, and I have a few better ways to do things, so that's what we're going to do. If you have no idea what you're doing, if you're not very computer savvy, I'd suggest you watch the entire video through to the end first so you kind of know what we're getting into so you don't mess something up midway. But we're going to be going at this from the standpoint of a fresh install of a Chromebook or a ChromeOS Flex or something that you haven't enabled any Linux on yet, and we're going to go from there. Now, the very first thing you're going to have to do is make sure your device actually is going to support Linux. One way you can check that is you click on the clock down here and you go to settings. Down on the bottom we have about ChromeOS, and I have a developer section and it says Linux development environment. Now I already have it set up and running on this computer, so it's going to look a little different if you don't. But if you don't have this section down there at all, you might be out of luck. If you're on a regular Chromebook, there's probably not much you can do. If you're on a ChromeOS Flex device that you installed this on, there is maybe hope for you. If you restart your computer, you can go into your system BIOS, and how that works is going to be different based on what model of computer you have. It'll usually say on the bottom of the screen right when you turn your computer on. If you can get into your BIOS and find an option about CPU virtualization and enable that, that might let you do Linux stuff on your ChromeOS Flex device. If your CPU is still too old, you might be out of luck, but that's the first thing you can check. Now, after we know that we can put Linux on our device, the first thing you want to do before you enable it is open up your browser and go to Chrome Flags, and you're going to want to search for a flag called Debian version for new cross-study containers, and just search for Debian and it'll be the first one that comes up. You want to change it from default to Bookworm. Why do you want to do this? This is going to give you a newer version of Debian on your Linux container. It's going to give you newer packages. It's going to allow you to have a better time with flatpaks. You just want to do it. So you do that, and before you restart it, another thing you can do is enable GPU support. This is optional. If you're going to want to play some Linux games, you're going to want to enable this one. It used to be enabled by default, but in one of the most recent versions of Chrome OS, they disabled it by default. So you could search for cross-study GPU support and go ahead and enable that if you're going to play games. If not, it's not a big deal. After you have those enabled, it'll ask you to restart. You'll restart your system, and that'll be that. The next thing you're going to do is go back in your settings, the About Chrome OS, go down to the Linux development environment. Mine's set up, yours is going to look a little different. There should be a section that says Enable Development Environment. You're going to click on that, and it's going to ask you for a username, which just pick a username, and it's going to ask you how much space you want to allocate to Linux. It's going to default to 10 gigs, just do 10 gigabytes, say next, and in a couple minutes it'll install and it will present you with a terminal like this. Nice, right? Okay, before you do anything, close out of your terminal, go back into settings, go to About Chrome OS, go back to your Linux development tools, and you're going to want to go to Backup and Restore, and you want to say Backup. It'll ask you where you want to save your backup. You'll save it. I'm going to hit cancel. You hit save. It'll take about 2 or 3 minutes. It's going to save it to your system. And when that's done, you'll have a new file wherever you saved it. That is your backup of your Linux environment. After you've backed it up, you're going to come back into your settings again, About Chrome OS, Linux environment. You're going to remove your Linux development environment. You're going to say delete. I'm going to cancel because I've already done this, but you say delete. It'll take a few minutes, and it's going to delete your Linux environment. You may be saying, why am I going to do this? After it's deleted, you're going to come back to your files where you saved your backup, and you're going to double click on it, and it's going to allow you to restore your backup. Now, what's the point of going through all that? Well, after your backup is restored, the size of your Linux environment is going to have changed from 10 gigabytes to dynamically allocated. And this is going to let your Linux container grow only as needed, depending on what you've installed on it. So you're not going to be limited to that 10 gigabyte space or any other statically allocated space. Your Linux container is going to be automatically sized based on what's needed. This is a lot better in my opinion, so that's what you're going to want to do. After you've done all that, you've restored your Linux environment, you can go back to the terminal, go to Penguin. You're going to have your brand new blank Linux terminal. The first thing you want to do is do a sudo apt update. Mine's already up to date because I've already done this, but yours is going to have updates available. Then you're going to want to say sudo apt upgrade, and it's going to go ahead and install all the updates so that your Linux environment is ready to go on the latest version of all the packages. The next thing we're going to do is enable flatpak support, which is going to greatly expand the amount of software you can install on your Linux environment. So go ahead and open a Chrome browser and search for flathub. Here's the actual URL we're going to go to. It's flathub.org/setup/ChromeOS. I'm going to see if I can find it just on the regular Flathub page. Yeah, my stupid head's in the way. Maybe we go to About and Users Setup down here. Then you're going to say ChromeOS. And this is really easy because it's going to tell you the commands you want to do. Sudo apt install flatpak. You can just click on this. It'll copy it. You can go to your terminal and right click and it'll paste it. Mine's already installed, but yours will go through and actually do an install of flatpak. And after that's done, you're going to add the flathub repository. So you're going to go over here. You're going to click copy. Right click that. I'm not going to do it because I already have it enabled, but once you do that, you are going to have flathub enabled on your system, which is going to allow you to install a bunch of Linux software. The next thing you have to do is restart your Linux environment. So what you do is close it, right click on your terminal down here and say shut down Linux, and it's going to go ahead and shut down. You can wait a moment, click on it again, go to Penguin. It's going to reboot your Linux environment, and here you have everything ready to go. So, there's two easy ways you can install software on this. One is, if you know the name of a package you want to install, you can, and it's in the Debian repository, you could type sudo apt install, say you wanted the VLC player, VLC. I already have it installed on mine, by the way, but if you do that, it'll go ahead and install VLC, which will now be in your launcher here under Linux applications. And as you can see, I have the VLC player running on my device here. The other way you can install software is through FlatHub. So you can click on the main FlatHub page and you can find a program you might like. And there's a lot. You can search for something. I don't know what I want to install here for a demo. Oh shoot, let's do Shotcut. That's a video editor. You'd click on that. On the install button here, click on the down arrow and you'd copy this first line. That's the install line. You'd right click over here to paste it, hit enter, say yes, yes. It'll take a minute. It'll go ahead and install whatever program you wanted to do. And when it's done, I'll show you in a minute, we should have Shotcut on this ChromeOS system up and running. While that's installing, I will show you one other way you can download something. You can also download a .deb file from the internet and install it by double clicking on it. Suppose you wanted Visual Studio Code on your system. You could search for Visual Studio, if I can't type, Visual Studio Code download. You can find the Linux deb package. It'll go ahead and download. Show in folder. Once it's downloaded, you just double click on that and it would install. Very easy. So now we have Shotcut on here. We can go down to Linux programs, see if we could find it. There it is. Should open. Come on. well, maybe that one was a bad example. A lot of things do work though. I'll show you some stuff I've installed on here. I put Inkscape. I like using Inkscape. I put GIMP. It's a graphics editing program that is much like Photoshop, but free. I got Audacity, which is an audio recording application. I've got Minecraft. I installed Minecraft, Microsoft Edge, FileZilla, Android Studio. There's all sorts of things you can get. Apparently Shotcut doesn't work. Oh, some things won't work. And as you saw, that Shotcut doesn't seem to be working. What if we want to get rid of a flatpak? Well, you'd use almost the exact same command you used to install it. I hit the up arrow to bring back my last command. Instead of install, you just type remove. And there we got rid of that one that didn't work. Okay, so in a nutshell, this is the way I always set up Linux when I'm on a ChromeOS device. I use the newest version of Debian. I remove my instance right after installing it, then I restore it from a backup so I can get that dynamically allocated size, and I enable flatpaks. And if you do those things, you're going to have a pretty good Linux environment set up and ready to go. Now, if you want specific help on installing other programs, just look through the history of my channel. I got tutorials for many things, including Steam, if you want that. And if there's something else you have a specific question on, just ask me. But once you get all this up and going, it's pretty easy from there. Not too complicated, so let me know. I hope someone found this helpful. If not, sorry, but anyway, thanks for watching. I hope you all have a good day. Goodbye now.